My name is Elizabeth, and I'm a typical housewife living a pretty normal life. I'm in my 60s, and my husband, Christopher, is a bit older. He used to work full-time, but now he has freelance jobs. We're enjoying our relaxed days together. Our son, Daniel, got married last year. His wife, Stephanie, wanted them to get married. They didn't have a wedding ceremony, but they took wedding pictures in Italy. They were smiling happily against a backdrop of clear blue skies and the ocean. We laughed at how radiant they looked, but our son glared at us. We're happy as long as they're happy, no matter what the circumstances. The couple met in Stephanie's hometown and have settled there for work. It's not an easy drive, but they usually come home for Christmas and Independence Day. And now it's Independence Day again, and our son and his wife are coming home. Hello, mother-in-law. It's been a long time. Thanks for coming so far. Come in. I lead Stephanie, who still seems a little nervous, into the living room. We talk over some key lime pie I made for the occasion. We have a lively conversation, although I do most of the talking. You're too excited, Mom.
This is your story channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, please join us to stay updated with more real stories happening around you.
You're too excited, Mom, Daniel says, rolling his eyes. Next to him, Stephanie smiles and nods. Oh my goodness. Look at the time. I'm going to start dinner. Stephanie, you can relax. No, please, let me help. Stephanie puts on her apron and follows me into the kitchen. It felt strange to refuse her offer, so I let her make the soup. As we work together in the kitchen, chatting, I feel a little shy. This is a new experience for me. It's wonderful. I've always dreamed of being in a kitchen with you. Daniel has never been interested in cooking. Oh, sorry. You're just being polite. No, that's not true. I'm excited to cook with you. Mother-in-law. Stephanie, could you teach me how to make something that Daniel likes? He told me, why not learn from Mom? She's a great cook. Even though I'm not a professional nurse, Stephanie kindly reminds me what a great daughter-in-law my son has chosen. Daniel, you never said anything like that at home, did you? Sitting in the living room with her husband, she made sure Daniel could hear her. Daniel laughed. Wow, that's embarrassing. Daniel, who is easygoing, and Stephanie, who is quiet. I knew they had built a beautiful home together. I wanted to help them. It was just a given. That's what parents do, right? But I know that not all parents are like that. Stephanie, you look pale. Your bed is made. Why don't you rest? No, please let me help. We were worried about Stephanie's pale face as soon as we picked her up for Christmas. Don't overdo it. You look thinner than last summer. Are you eating well? Stephanie hesitated, but then she walked to the kitchen. Her husband joined in. Elizabeth can handle it. You should rest. Is that okay? Sorry. Eventually, she reluctantly left the kitchen. During the visit, we told her to go home early because she was sick, but still wanted to help. Stephanie seemed like she wanted to say something, but Daniel nudged her, and they left. As we watched their car drive away, we sighed. She looked like she was having a hard time, but still wanted to work. She could lean on us more. She probably hasn't had a chance to lean on anyone. Why did Stephanie refuse a wedding ceremony? It was because of her relationship with her birth mother. Apparently, Stephanie grew up without a father. She was raised by a mother who was more interested in gambling and smoking than in being a parent. So Stephanie's maternal grandmother took care of her and taught her all the household chores. Sadly, Stephanie's maternal grandmother passed away before Stephanie was in high school. Stephanie works part-time to pay for her tuition at an alternative high school. She works hard and is dedicated to her studies. Up until their marriage, her mother had taken most of Stephanie's earnings. Daniel told us, looking upset. So Dad, Mom, if you see Stephanie struggling, please help her. I remember the night we first met Stephanie, before they were married, when Daniel first asked us to take her in. It was moving to see our son, who had always been independent, finally ready to be protected. It was wonderful to know that he trusted us. I usually avoid calling 2 weeks after Christmas unless it's absolutely necessary. I talk a lot, and Stephanie often overthinks how she interacts with people. Sometimes, a little distance is good for both the daughter-in-law and the mother-in-law. When I first got married, we lived with my mother-in-law, and we didn't get along. My husband decided that we should live separately. Once we did that, we saw less of each other's annoying habits and we were able to stay friendly. I don't think she's a bad person. When Daniel asked me to help her if she seemed to be struggling, I wasn't sure how involved I should be. But I couldn't forget her pale face at Christmas. I decided to just check on her and then hang up, and I picked up the phone. After a few rings, she picked up her mother-in-law. Hey, how are you, Stephanie? Have you seen a doctor? I apologized for crying, but I was really worried. I talked for a while, trying to hide my guilt. There's silence on the other end. I apologize. I tend to talk excessively. Please help me. What? Mother-in-law, please help me. Her voice sounds desperate. I immediately realized the seriousness of the situation. What's wrong? Are you sick? Where's Daniel? Daniel is on a business trip. I understand. I'll be gone for a while, but don't worry. I'll definitely come. I end the call without asking more questions and check the time. It's just before noon. If I catch the train now, I should arrive in about 2 hours. I quickly write a note for my husband, grab my wallet and phone, and rush out of the house. I go to my mother-in-law's, Stephanie's, room. It is cold and Stephanie is sitting on the couch. You don't seem to have a fever. Did you go to the hospital? I'm sorry. No need to apologize. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I snap her back to reality. I heat up the room and decide to make some cocoa. The refrigerator is empty, so I can only make rice porridge. I ask her about her relationship with her mother, who doesn't get along with her. Stephanie's mother had always been against our marriage. She probably didn't want to lose a daughter who took care of her and gave her money. So she agreed to back out, but only if she could get some money from us. It turned out that Stephanie had morning sickness at Christmas. After New Year's, during a hospital visit, she was taken to see a pregnant woman's doctor, where they confirmed the baby's heartbeat. Her morning sickness was severe, and she had even had her work hours reduced. Daniel wanted to cancel his business trip, but Stephanie insisted he go, saying it was important. Then her mother showed up demanding money. Seeing Stephanie's pale face, her mother quickly realized that Stephanie was pregnant and yelled, "You can't have this." Upset that her usually submissive daughter wouldn't agree, she took all the money and food in the house and left. As Stephanie calmly recounted this, I burst into tears. How could anyone do this to their own daughter and grandchild? The mother-in-law, to see me cry. Stephanie's emotionless face showed her guilt. It was heartbreaking to see her, a woman who couldn't even cry in pain. Stephanie, please be honest. What do you want to do? If it's okay, I want to have this baby, even if it's a burden for you and the family, a burden when your child's life is at stake. I gently touched her still flat stomach. I'll protect you and your mother, I swear. That night, I told Daniel about the day's events over the phone and made a suggestion. I could hear him crying when he said, "Thank you, Mom." Christopher also immediately agreed. I'm really grateful to have a husband who understands my determined nature in the bedroom. I watched Stephanie's face as she slept, cradling her stomach. Grandma will do her best, okay? I felt determined, so I went to bed to prepare for the next day. The next day, as Stephanie and I were having lunch, the doorbell rang. I left Stephanie, who was frozen in front of the monitor, and opened the door. Stephanie, this money isn't enough. When your husband comes home, make sure you get more from him. I stood in the way of Stephanie's mother, who tried to force her way in while saying mean things without even looking at me. When she realized something was wrong, she finally looked up and saw an older woman who was a stranger to her. Hello, I'm Daniel's mother. I apologize for the late introduction. Oh, hi. She was surprised when I said hello. It looks like we're going to be grandparents. What? Well, I mean, aren't we all a little young for that? She looked at us with a friendly and slightly flattering expression. Stephanie had never acted spoiled before, but this woman seemed to know how to do it. When you're married, age doesn't matter. How old were you when you had Stephanie? 18. Well, you were a lot younger than Stephanie is now. She'll be fine. I had her when she was young, and it was difficult. I don't want my daughter to struggle. I'm sure you had a hard time. But don't worry, Daniel's here, and we're here for Stephanie too. What's going on? Stephanie's mother is frustrated that her feelings aren't understood and screams like a child. Startled by her outburst, Stephanie lets out a little scream from behind. So you're telling me that my daughter, who I'm struggling to raise on my own, won't give me money because she's married and pregnant? That's ridiculous. The one being ridiculous is you. I firmly reject this selfish person and give her no room to cling to me. Children are not born to serve their parents. They're born to live happily as individuals. Your struggle comes from your inability to control yourself and your tendency to spend recklessly. I can do whatever I want with my daughter. Then give us your daughter. Suddenly, the bedroom door opens and my reserved husband appears. The arrival of a second person changes the color of Stephanie's mother's face. Ignoring the change in her expression, my husband pulls a large envelope from his pocket. I had saved $50,000 for my son's wedding. I'm offering it for your daughter's wedding. She was obviously thrilled by the amount of money, which she was not used to. Well, I've actually spent more on raising my daughter. It was freeing to see her try to negotiate for more money instead of saying her daughter couldn't be bought. I'm sure your daughter has already repaid that amount, right? She seems quite independent. If you don't need her, we can cancel the deal. Okay then. It's for my daughter and my grandson. She took the envelope from my hoofband. Her daughter was not there. Let's go, Stephanie. To spare Stephanie any more ugliness, I took her outside, but she stopped at the front door and turned to say, "Thanks for everything, Mom. Goodbye." She would soon realize what she had lost for so little. But by then, Stephanie and her child had enough time to escape. A year later, Christmas used to be the time we waited for our son to come home. Not this year, because we have our beautiful daughter Stephanie and granddaughter Ashley here with us. Thank you for watching. Ashley, the mother-in-law. She slept like an angel. Did you get what you needed? Yes, we did. Oh, and I also got some donuts. How considerate of you. Come sit by the fireplace. Sure. Stephanie settles in by the fireplace as if she's always been a part of our home. You see, Stephanie and her family live with us. When Daniel, my son, couldn't leave his job abroad, we decided that Stephanie and Ashley could stay with us for safety's sake. Daniel had always planned to return here. And then, just before Ashley was born, that wish came true. They could have moved out when Daniel arrived, but Stephanie wanted to live with us, so they still do. We thought there might be some problems living together, but so far it's been great. It's added so much life to our lives, which otherwise seemed monotonous. While we were enjoying some delicious donuts, my husband stopped by. Elizabeth, another email came in. Oh my goodness. What did it say this time? Please return Stephanie and my grandchild. Stephanie is my dear daughter. Since she left, I felt like my heart has been burning up inside. I don't have any money. If you don't bring Stephanie back and give me money, you'll be in trouble too if something happens to me. My husband sighed, shocked by the situation. She always writes the same boring stuff. Oh, come on, Christopher. As I laughed at his comment, Stephanie scowled and laughed awkwardly. As it turned out, Stephanie's mother quickly wasted the $50,000 she received in exchange for her daughter. So now we get these sad stories about her sad state. It's like we just changed who we were supporting. We wanted another child, but we couldn't have one. We got a beautiful daughter for only $50,000. That's a bargain. You're too kind. The mother-in-law. Stephanie replied with a face on the verge of tears. Don't worry about the money, Elizabeth, and I really feel that way. Christopher, you're cool. I teased him, and he lightly hit me with the newspaper he was holding. I'm glad I married Daniel. I'm glad I met you and my father-in-law. I'm so happy. I'm happy too. Having such a wonderful daughter is the best thing our son has ever done. Hey, am I being neglected? You know I'm here too, right? Daniel pouted, and the grandchild in Stephanie's arms yawned a little. We all laughed at the sight, and even my husband, who was tipping his coffee cup, seemed pleased. Another peaceful day with our beautiful daughter, something truly priceless that money can't buy. It's a shame to ruin such precious moments. Instead of focusing on money, she should have cherished the warm hand next to her. I feel sorry for her because she doesn't know what it means to be a happy mother, but I can't forgive her. I am grateful that she gave me a wonderful daughter like Stephanie. Shall we have macaroni and cheese for dinner tonight? I'll help you, mother-in-law. Thank you, Stephanie, as always. That's how we got used to standing side by side in the kitchen, enjoying our little happiness.